Hey everyone, it's me, Kirk Mastin, here at Mastin Labs, and today we have something really exciting. It's our brand new, first ever LUT pack for video, and we are starting with Portra Original. It's a really great, all-around, versatile pack. It has beautiful skin tones. It's very easy to use, and we've got a lot of really cool features built into these packs that make your life as a video color grader or videographer much easier, especially when it comes to getting consistent color across cameras in half the time, actually in 10% of the time, because everything is already pre-normalized for you. It's magical. It's amazing. And we're going to dive into it right now. So let's get started. This is going to be a little tricky one for me, I think, because I'm going to be jumping between three programs. We have DaVinci Resolve, which you see here. Then we're gonna dive into Adobe Premiere, and then we're gonna finish up with Apple's Final Cut Pro. So it's gonna be a real whirlwind. Okay, but here we are. We've already installed the Portra Original pack. If you're familiar with DaVinci Resolve, you know what power nodes are. And the very first thing we're gonna do is take this power grade and put it in the first memory slot there. And at this point, we can just go into the node section here and hit Command 1, and we can pop in the entire power node. And it's so cool. Casey did a fantastic job of recreating the three-step workflow within DaVinci Resolve. So we've got the LUTs over here on this little part of the node. And then from top to bottom, we've got exposure, white balance, and tone profiles. So that's like the whole three-step workflow is right there. This is a red film clip. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to LUTs, go into the Mastin Labs Portra Original pack right here. And then over here, you can see that we've got different types of cameras that we're supporting directly. So since this is a red cinema camera, we're going to go into the red folder here, red log film, and now you can see our three presets here: Portra 160, Portra 400, and Portra 800. There will be more things added in the future as we develop the packs. We've got a big roadmap, and we're going to be including orange reduction tools, further refinements in the tone profile system, and a few other tools that are really, really cool, including some, totally amazing white balance correction tools that I've never seen in anything in video in my life. But that's coming soon. But you can get an amazing edit anyway right now. And what you do is you start on the LUT part of the node, click on the LUT that you want to use. So I double clicked on it. And now you can see that it has been applied to this clip. It already looks pretty good. I'm going to go to a slightly nicer part of the clip. It actually looks like, I don't know, like he's mugging her or something in the beginning, but they're actually in love. So I like to go to a part of the clip that is really representative of everything we need to look at. So there's a little bit of flare in this clip. See, there's some flare that builds up there. I want to go to where it's unflared or less flared. So like right in here. Maybe, actually, yeah, that was a good spot. Right in here. Why? Because you need to have kind of a map of the whole still that you're trying to color correct for, without having anything be very low contrast because of the flare. So I'm particularly concerned about her hair blocking up, but you can see right now it looks pretty good just with the LUT applied. And this looks pretty darn good just without doing anything. That is like as simple as you can get it. So here's before and after, just with Portra 400, and that looks fantastic. Okay, so let's dive into the power node itself. You've got exposure, white balance, and tone profile. You want to do what the node says in that node. You don't want to like go into exposure and mess with white balance. You don't want to go into white balance and mess with exposure, etc. They're separated to keep the quality as high as possible. Because of the way that this flows through the node. So we're trying to keep as high quality as possible. But it's actually very convenient because you can just kind of jump between these three and get a perfect edit. So going into the exposure part of the node, I can come down here into curves, and you want to just grab this white curve or the white ball here at the top, and it's going to control the entire, basically exposure all the way across in a really super nice and gentle way. And basically you're going to just get your kind of your midtones right, your base exposure right. Go into white balance, make any corrections you want to do here. If you've seen my millions of white balance videos for still, you'll know that I always look at something in the background to find out the white balance or some neutral thing. I can look at his jacket, this wall back here, and even her white dress, and I can see that it's a little bit magenta. So I'm gonna just slightly go over to green. The color controls are super sensitive in DaVinci Resolve, so you don't really need to move it very far to get a big result. Anyway, okay, temperature wise, could this be warmer or cooler? Maybe, I think it's about right. I mean, if I go too cool, it looks kind of weird. That is the technical term. I'm gonna go just a tiny bit warmer. So like right about there, and that is my basic color correction. So this is kind of your very, very basic, use of the LUT. Now, with the tone profile section, we've taken the tone profile controls that you're used to in the desktop or still version, like still photography, and we've kind of combined them all into one tool called the tone profile tool. And this will let you kind of overall adjust the highlight and shadow, intensity, I guess. That'd be the best word for it. Yeah, it's basically contrast control all in one. And so we've got that flare in the beginning of the shot, and I'm going to actually bring this down just a little bit to give it a little more depth. And now when we play through it, I mean, this just looks absolutely fantastic. That looks so good, doesn't it? Okay, and you can see how easy it was using these nodes. Very, very simple. Basically, you apply the LUT here, you adjust exposure, white balance, and tone profile, and now you have a perfectly color-corrected clip. And it's got those beautiful Portra colors. Skin tones are fantastic. It looks like film. It doesn't look like a Michael Bay movie. It looks really good. All right, let's move on. I love this clip. It's so cool. I'm exactly as strong as this person. I'm kidding. So this is with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. And Blackmagic and DaVinci Resolve kind of go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. So it's kind of built for Blackmagic. We love these cameras. And for this, we're going to go back through that whole kind of setup here. We're going to get a different camera out of here. But first, we got to apply the power node. So I'm going to click into my node section here, hit Command 1. All the cool stuff pops up. Yeah, it's awesome. The LUT part is already selected. Go back into our folders here. We look for Blackmagic, film, double click, and now we've got our three kind of basic, main LUTs here. One thing I want to say is these are actually very not basic. You see a single LUT here, but there's actually kind of a pre-normalization that happens inside the LUT per camera. So you're kind of combining two things at once, which makes them really, really powerful. And it makes it so much faster. So, okay, back to the story at hand. I've applied Portra 160 to this node here. I'm going to go back into exposure. Actually, first, I'm going to actually skip exposure for right now. I'm going to go right into white balance and work on this kind of green cast. Get the white balance right because it's kind of throwing me off. And that's okay. Everything is shot differently. So I've increased the green just a little, or not the green, magenta to kind of fix that kind of greenish haze. And I'm going to warm up the whole image. And that already looks super good. I would say. Looks really, really good. Oops. It would help if I stayed on that clip. Okay. So let's see what it looks like before and after. Before, after. Portra 160 is a really nice and kind of delicate LUT. It's a great all-around semi-flat, semi-low contrast, and low color LUT. It's a really nice base. And you can see just using just the white balance adjustments, we've got a nice image here. Now that I can see clearly again because the color balance isn't weird, I'm going to go into exposure, and if I wanted to make this kind of a, I don't know, higher key image, I could go into exposure, bring it up, and go back into tone profile and bring down just the shadows and pump up the highlights. And now we have a higher key version of this clip. And that's pretty awesome and pretty fast. We can't even do this in Lightroom. This isn't even possible in Lightroom. I wish it was. This is one thing that's so cool about DaVinci Resolve is that you can, build a node like this and just go between exposure and tone profile, and you're kind of doing many small adjustments at the same time while keeping it looking natural and film-like. So that's making it look high key. Now if I wanted to go low key, just like the TV show. If I wanted to make it darker, moodier and darker, I just go back up to exposure, pull it down, way down, whatever, down to here, go back down into tone profile and bring this up, and now you have a low key image as opposed to a high key image. And I love that. You can just go between these three and do everything you need to do. I kind of like it a little bit higher key. That's just me. Hierarchy. I cracked myself up. Okay. So right about there is where I like it. So there you go. That is how you edit in DaVinci Resolve. You can see that we are not using the billions of tools here. We've really simplified it down into the power node and the curve section. It's pretty fantastic. One thing I'd like to say is, just as a PSA, if you are not a videographer yet and you're curious about becoming one, did you know that DaVinci Resolve is free? It's absolutely free. I think there are some tools that are turned off until you license it. Noise reduction.
One of the big ones, but yeah, there's some stuff, but for the most part,
Yeah.
it's free.
I mean, Casey's saying like noise reduction is turned off, but most of it is free. And I mean,
I used it for like a year, I think, before we paid for it.
so Casey says he used it for a year before he ever paid for it. So listen, it's free. It's free. And here's the craziest part. I think it's by far the best video editor that you can get. Like, unless you're like working in Hollywood, it's better than Final Cut Pro, in my opinion, better than Premiere, and it's free. So if you want to get into video, videography, you want to test the waters, you can just buy the Portra Original LUT pack, get DaVinci Resolve for free, and you are like off to the races. And it's pretty awesome. Okay, that is just my PSA. Back to editing. So let's go into Premiere. Here we are in Premiere, and this time the workflow is adapted to this program. We don't have power nodes in Premiere, which makes me cry a single tear. We do, however, have an interface that will be very familiar, if you look over on the right side, to our Lightroom users. It's very similar. It's made by Adobe. I mean, this is made by Adobe, so of course it is, right? Okay. So now we are in Adobe Premiere, and we're going to do the same thing where we go and grab the LUTs and pop them in. And they are right. Where are they?
They are under.
Oh, that's right, under effects. Yes, how embarrassing. But whatever. I mean, it just shows you that I live in Resolve. I do. I mean, I come over to Premiere because I have to, and then Final Cut because I really have to. But Resolve is amazing. Okay, so yes, it's you go under effects, go into the LUTs. This is a Canon C-Log2 file. So we're going to go into here, grab C-Log2, and now you can see the, the presets in here. It's pretty simple. You just grab it, you drag it onto here, or you can just double click it, and that applies the LUT. I'm going to say preset occasionally because I've been saying that for 10 years. But when I say preset, it means LUT. LUT preset. It's basically a lookup table, a film look, and it looks pretty darn good. This is Portra 800. So now that we have it applied, we go over to the Lumetri color panel here, and it's really quite simple. You're just going to be adjusting exposure, temperature, and tint. For this image, I'm going to bring, I just jam the exposure up. I'm going to bring it down actually, just a little bit. And I'm going to bring the temperature up just a tiny bit. As far as like green or magenta, it looks a little tiny bit green. I don't know. Let me see here. These are so sensitive. I think right about there looks good. And until we have the tone profiles built into this pack, which are coming soon, you're going to need to go down into the tone section here and play with blacks, whites, shadows, and highlights a little bit. I've mostly been just going in and playing with a little bit of contrast and bringing down the black point, sometimes shadows, until I get it exactly how I want. But you can see it's still a very, very simple workflow. And the way that the LUTs work, they do protect your highlights a lot and give you a really nice uniform look. So that is just really, really simple, and it looks really good. Here's before and after using Portra 800 inside of Adobe Premiere. Very, very similar to Lightroom, and yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great for what it is. Again, I am very partial to DaVinci Resolve, and I mean, I just can't say it enough. If you've never tried it, it's free, and you can just try it, because you should try it. Okay, here we are in Final Cut Pro. Now, this is the program that I kind of cut my teeth on years ago when I was doing primarily video, and it has changed a lot since then, but it still kind of has that Final Cut feel. But it's fairly simple to use. It's kind of a weird hybrid between Resolve and Premiere. We've selected the clip in the timeline. This is a red log film clip, and I'm going to go into the under effects. I'm going to go into the Mastin Labs Portra Original folder, and you can see all of the kind of the basic camera types are all down in here. Apple uses like this little mountain preview image, so it's it's not really the best sometimes to try to find what you're looking for, but once you kind of get a sense of where it is, it's pretty quick. And you can see right here it says, oh, it just skipped, red log film. Here it is. So we're going to go to red log film, double click it, and now you have, now this is a little bit different. This is like a power node, it's exactly in between the two programs. So you click on red log film. We've put all three presets or LUTs inside of this one effect. And what you're going to do is you're going to just pick which one you want to apply, which is kind of cool. If you want to see like the difference between the three looks really quickly, you can. So without any other correction, this is just going from, let me make this a little bit bigger. Without doing anything else, you can, you check out the look. This is Portra 160. This is Portra 400. This is Portra 800. I like 800 on this one myself, but I think they all look good. Or you could just be really crazy and just put them all on there and it just looks terrible. But we're just going to put one on here, Portra 800. And once you've done that, you're going to go up to this little color triangle, and it's going to open up the color wheels for you. And this is where you're going to live now. This is your new home. This we found is kind of the fastest and quickest way to edit or to color grade within Final Cut Pro for how our workflow works. And you've got global, shadows, highlights, and midtones. Global is kind of just the overall, in a sense, it's just kind of, I don't know how I'd describe it, gamma or the overall brightness. the exposure. Yeah, the exposure of the entire image. I like to use global to get the midtones kind of where I want them without anything blocking up and without anything blowing out. So blocking up means anything turning completely black, blocking up where you can't see what's going on, or anything blowing out turning completely white where it's just blown out. Now, of course, these little lamps are going to be blown out, sure, but I'm kind of looking at the corner of this ceiling here and over here, and even this highlight on her face and on her earrings to see kind of where I want to set that. Now that I've got that set, you can either go into shadows or highlights next. Let's just go into shadows and kind of bring them down just a little bit. Let's give a little more richness. And then highlights, do we want to kind of make the highlights a little harsher? I think they were pretty good where they were. I'm looking like right in here too. I don't want these patterns on her dress to kind of get too bright. And then last, we've got midtones, which is kind of, well, it's exactly what it is. It's midtones. So now you're kind of pulling in the middle of the curve down if you were to imagine a curve. So I think that looks pretty good. Maybe even go a little bit lower key because it is, you know, like a nightclub scene. And those are the basic, you know, curve and, you know, contrast adjustments right here. After that, you've got temperature and tint and hue, which you should never touch for any reason. It's like a surefire way to make it look terrible. Just don't touch this one. But this is just temperature and tint. And I like to get it a little more correct. What do I mean by that? Anytime you touch anything in a video editor, it seems a little extreme to me. But I think some small corrections are good. So this whole image looks a little bit yellow-orange. And I can fix that by bringing the temperature down just slightly. I barely touched it, but I kind of cleaned up the color in the neutral areas here and on her face and everywhere else. And now I'm going to tint, and I have to determine, is it too magenta or too green? I don't think it's too much of either. I'm just going to leave it alone. And actually, after fixing the temperature, or like correcting the temperature, I feel that the highlights, and I don't know why it affects it this way, I feel like the highlights are a little bit dull. So I'm going to bring those back up just a little bit, just to give it some pop. And now, this is before and after. And that's it. It is so simple. It is so simple. I have kind of the same weird guilt I had when we were making presets and styles, that we had simplified everything so much that I was like, well, there should be more to show you, but there isn't. This is how quickly you can get a really nice color grade. It's very simple. We will be adding a few more tools in the future, but those tools are really just like the cherry on top. They're for very particular problems, you know, problematic clips and small little tweaks. You can get the majority of what you want with just this simple 3-step workflow. All right. Last clip here. This is I believe this is a Panasonic clip. We don't want to leave out our Panasonic viewers. It's a great little camera. A lot of videographers use this camera. I'm going to double click it. And now we've got Portra 160, 400, and 800 here. 160 is just so low contrast, so low color that if the image already is kind of in that vein, I don't want to use it. I think Portra 800 is a really nice starting point. There is some color correction that needs to happen here. You can see it's very magenta. But I think overall, Portra 800 suits this one nicely. So I'm going to choose Portra 800, go over to my color wheels. It's kind of like a crooked photo. I feel like if I can't even really concentrate until the white balance is correct. So I kind of jump to white balance first in a lot of video editing. So I just can't think straight without it being more correct. It needs to be warmer, and you can see here that it's very green. So we're going to add a little magenta. And this is so touchy. Oof. This is the touchiest of all the color correction tools in any of the programs. It's Final Cut. All right, so there we have kind of a basic white balance. It still looks a little bit strange, and that's because the tones need to be sorted out And the exposure needs to be sorted out with these wheels before it kind of really all falls into place. I'm going to go to global, bring it down just a little bit. I don't want the shadows to block up. We can take a look at that with the little scope parade thingy here. You can see where things are hitting white or black. You can see there's some stuff hitting black here. And I want to just be really careful that we're not blocking up her hair or blocking anything else up. I think I'm okay. It looks pretty close. Yeah, I don't want to go any further than that. Probably right about... interesting. Okay, so you can see this like definite line here. I want that to hit the bottom or almost the bottom. It's like right about there is perfect. Now over to highlights. How do we want to treat the highlights? In general, I don't, especially in video, I don't like them to be blazing white. I like them to be soft. So we just drop those down a little bit. And then midtones. Where do we want midtones? I think they were pretty good where they were, if not maybe a little bit lower. And now that looks really nice. So let's play that clip through. Looks good. This is without, and that is with the Portra 800 color grade LUT. Pretty nice stuff. Really nice stuff. As you can see, as you can see, the workflows are very different. You're mainly working in this effects panel with the three presets kind of packed into it, and then this color wheel section if you're working in Final Cut Pro. If you're working in Adobe Premiere, you're grabbing your presets over here from the effects panel. I do really like these little previews. Those are super cool. And when we release all the other packs, which we're going to, I think being able to see these little previews is going to be fantastic for you to quickly decide what you want. But you've got a very familiar interface here if you are doing, or if you're used to Lightroom and editing photos. And then last, we've got my favorite, which is DaVinci Resolve, which makes me feel as strong as this guy, because we've got the power node, which you can only build in DaVinci Resolve, and it keeps everything really nice and organized here. And I mean, after looking at the wheels in Final Cut Pro and the sliders in Adobe Premiere, I mean, isn't this just fantastic that you just have only these three spots you kind of need to bounce between? And in fact, it's really only two spots. Once you get the white balance dialed in, you can just bounce between exposure and tone profile and make this look amazing. And it looks fantastic. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that in general, DaVinci Resolve has the best color rendition of the three programs. Outside of anything that we can do with LUTs or anyone can do with LUTs, just the way that its engine renders color is, in my eyes, very, very amazing and beautiful and subtle. There's my little pitch for DaVinci Resolve. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. It's our first pack of many packs, and we're going to be really diving deep into video editing, using LUTs, color grading, and finding a very simplified and powerful workflow for our community and for the videographers that we support. We're always going to be upgrading the packs with newer camera formats and styles and everything else. You just let us know what you want, and we will keep building because we want to support you for a long time. If you are just joining us for the first time, we always encourage you to join our Facebook community here online. It's super friendly. We share a lot of great information. We help each other grow. We don't allow anyone to be a jerk. That is like kind of a very special thing about our group. So if you're a jerk, you are booted out immediately, never to return. And it's really fantastic. It is the least toxic place for videographers and photographers on the internet. So join us. It's great. And you can submit things there for other people to look at and maybe help you with your edits or your grades. It's a great community. If you want to contact us directly, you can slide into our DMs by just going here at m.me/Mastin Labs, and we are happy to answer your questions. So until next time, have a great day and happy color grading.